Are we a democracy or a republic? A democracy or a constitutional republic? I had this question with a famous neocon who's on the news all the time last night at one of the television stations here locally. He says, "What does it matter?" And I said, "Well, because Wilson wanted to make the world safe for democracy. You guys wanted to make the Middle East safe for democracy. You're everywhere overturning governments. The Arab Spring happens and you get a democracy and now you're not happy. Maybe you should be a little more specific that it's not democracy you're in love with. We need to be in love with constitutional republics that are restrained, that guarantee certain rights. If you're just for democracy, now they're complaining. The president's saying, "Well, it's a democracy," but they're acting like authoritarians. Well, yeah, they are, but that's the whole point. Democracy isn't the end answer. Democracy is not what we're fighting for. What we should be fighting for is for a constitutional republic, for preservation of rights. Certain rights can't be taken away by a majority. Why is this important? From the Lochner case in 1905, about 10 years later, there's a case called Buchanan v. Worley. It overturns the Jim Crow laws, the housing segregation laws in Louisville. And it's important because a majority, Democrats, by the way, which everybody should keep pointing out, the Jim Crow laws were passed by Democrats, all Democrats. In my state, the Democrats voted against the 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, the 15th Amendment, and then they came along and instituted all of the Jim Crow laws. But we overturned it, and we overturned it based on Lochner saying that a majority can't take away this right to contract. But it was based on the right to contract. And they said, yes, if a white man wants to sell to a black man or vice versa, that's a contract. You can't inhibit this contract. So it is important to talk about it because you think about it. If you believe in majority rule, absolute majority rule, 51% of the people could come and say, we believe we ought to have slavery. Or 51% of the people could say, why don't we put all the Japanese people in camps? Oh, that's right, we did do that, didn't we? But that was a mistake, and that was a mistake because we forgot who we were. We thought we were a democracy instead of a republic. In a republic where you have things that are your rights, they can't be taken away by majority rule. They can't be, and it's much more difficult to change our Constitution. You could ultimately try to take away some rights. Some people would argue you can't even do it through supermajorities, that you should be allowed to take away rights. But I think these are important questions because we're not a democracy, we're a republic.